Raider Nation, what is up? It is Biggs and Raiderdamus. We are here with Raiders Uncovered on the Undroppables Network. Our top story tonight, breaking news, the Raiders have signed backup quarterback Nathan Peterman. I know you all came for quarterback news, and that is it. Nathan Peterman signs with the Las Vegas Raiders.
That is
No goats this week. I have COVID and I didn't really feel like getting into all the tile building and everything. So we're just going to start off with the state of the nation. First, before we do that, Raiderdamus, what are your thoughts on the Nathan Peterman signing?
I am super happy about that. Nathan Peterman was amazing for the Raiders when he was with us under John Gruden, and he's going to be amazing for us going forward. The Raiders have absolutely nothing to worry about at the quarterback position now that Peterman is back in the fold. It is just onward and upward on to glory from now on.
I love the way that you use those adjectives. I think they're carrying a lot of weight. All right, it's time for the state of the nation. All right, two big news items to cover. The first, I know that you've all been waiting for. It's in the thumbnail and everything. Antonio Pierce came out the other day, and much to the dismay of many who were Aiden O'Connell truthers, I count myself among the number. He announced that Gardner Minshew will be the starting quarterback in Week 1 for the Las Vegas Raiders. Oh, wait, no, it doesn't have it on this. I put Aiden O'Connell truther on in a different one. Boo. Okay, so now the caveats. He kind of hinted that it's just week 1 that they've made the decision for, and I don't know what that means. He was trying not to say that Aiden wasn't going to play this year. He was saying that Aiden O'Connell is going to get playing time. We got comments coming off. Get Shrek'd where we lied to that this was a battle. Seems like the experience of Minshew was always going to give him the week 1 nod. This has Telesco's fingerprints all over it and really makes you wonder. I was thinking something different. My mind, every time my mind went to Telesco, it then snapped back to Luke Getsy, and I think this was more Luke Getsy than anything else. I'm really concerned about our decision makers. Yeah, the night before the game, I texted my boy and I was like, I'm not comfortable with how this shakes out because I feel like if it goes the Gardner Minshew way, we are back in this rut of poor decisions and get Shrek'd again. 2 years in a row now. I'm supposed to give the benefit of the doubt to Jimmy G, and now Gardner Minshew. I can't do it. I feel you, brother. I feel you. And then after sitting with it for a couple days, I'm more comfortable with it when my boy texted me, "Don't you believe in AP?" And I'm like, I do. But does that mean I have to believe in Gardner Minshew? What are your thoughts, Raiderdamus?
Well, I'll tell you this. I have learned something about the Raiders in the past 20 years of my life. In that if the Raiders have a number of decisions in front of them and choices that they can make, and I look at one of those choices and I say, boy, I hope they don't do that. That's the one they're going to pick every single goddamn time. Now, I have never been of the mind and of the opinion that you're not a real fan if you don't blindly support whatever the organization decides to do. There have been a number of things that the Raiders have done that I simply am not going to support and never have supported. The signing of Jimmy Garoppolo was one of them. Mm-hmm. The drafting of, any number of players like Alex Leatherwood was, others of them. But I'm not going to ever sit back and tell you, that everything the Raiders do is going to be amazing, because it's not. The Raiders, like every other football team, do stupid things all the time.
And what do we call that on this show? Raiders traumatic stress syndrome.
Well, I mean, but that goes for a lot of teams. That went for the Bengals for 30 years. Went for the Browns for the entire history of their franchise. It goes for the Falcons a few months ago. I mean, it goes for literally any team that you follow, except ones that have been on top forever. Like, I don't know. Listen, there isn't really a team that's been on top forever. Even the Steelers sucked at one point. In fact, they got Terry Bradshaw and Mean Joe Green because they were so bad for so long. Every team goes up, every team goes down. There's no Ohio State in pro football. You know, Ohio State's been good for 100 years. Ohio State has never sucked at football, but every other team in the NFL has sucked at football at one point or another. Why? Because they do dumb shit like starting Gardner Minshew when they don't have to.
Do you know who the best football program in the 1920s was?
Oh, probably Minnesota or maybe
the California Golden Bears.
Okay. Well, you know, Cal had the virtue of only letting in really, really smart kids. And in the 1920s, the smart kids were also big and strong too. They're not now. So that's
100 years ago, they were the best team on the planet.
100%. But this is the kind of thing that you do when you're desperate to win and don't really care about your future. Antonio Pierce is the kind of guy who wants to win now, which also leads me to believe that if Gardner Minshew sucks, like I know damn well he's going to do, Gardner Minshew is going to find himself on the bench sooner rather than later, because AP has come out and said, we're going to pick a guy, we're going to ride with him the whole season. I don't believe him at all.
What confuses me so much is what actual pieces went into the decision making of handing the job to Gardner. Because A, are they discounting Aiden O'Connell's performance for AP last year in the second half of the season when AP took over as interim head coach, specifically the last 4 games of the year where Aiden O'Connell was the only quarterback in the NFL to not have a turnover in those last 4 games? Are they completely discounting that? Are they only looking at camp because the reports were mixed from camp? Were they only looking at the preseason games? Because, yeah, he threw a pick 6 against the Cowboys, but guess what? There was a pick 6 dropped on a terrible Gardner Minshew throw. He had 2 other balls that bounced off people's hands. He threw, what could have been 3 interceptions in that game. So it can't have been just that Cowboys game. So it had to be a mix of all of that. And when everything is said and done, it can't come down to any of the performances or the performances collectively. It has to be Minshew's ability to escape the pocket, which O'Connell can't really do. But O'Connell threw the ball better. It looked like he managed the game pretty well. Minshew's highlights were all against third teamers. Like, what happened?
Well, I mean, the coaching staff and the front office sees all the camp practices. They see, everything that goes into that decision. Whereas we only really see the preseason games, and we see them playing with, second string offensive line and second string weapons against second or third string defenses. So we don't know exactly how the coaching staff sees them performing on a level playing field with their competition. What I also know is this: AP has said he wants to get out to a fast start in the first quarter of the season, the first 4 or 5 games. In the first 4 games of the season, the Raiders play the Chargers, the Ravens, and also the Browns. All 3 of those teams have elite defensive lines. And I think they believe and are of the mind that Gardner Minshew is going to have an easier time escaping the pocket and making plays if the protection breaks down than Aiden O'Connell would. Not that I agree with the decision not to start Aiden O'Connell, because I think that there's a lot of far-reaching ramifications of not starting Aiden O'Connell that we're going to get into here in this show.
That's the thing.
That's their mindset at this point.
He does have a better chance against elite defensive lines to escape the pocket and make plays, but he also has a much better chance of escaping the pocket and making terrible decisions. And we've seen him make terrible decision after terrible decision. Get Shrek is always on fire. Minshew's ability to escape the pocket is not running the Getsy system. It doesn't make sense. Okay.
This is what got Getsy fired in Chicago, was Justin Fields getting out of the pocket and doing stupid crap.
Right. So there goes my theory about it's Getsy's decision. Mm-hmm. So maybe Get Shrek Bra has a point. Maybe it's a Telesco thing because they did give him $12 million, but they gave Garoppolo more and they had no problem saying, nope, it's Aiden O'Connell's job. So are they can't be like, well, let's let Gardner fail. So everybody, it can't be that, right?
No, they're not going to pay him $15 million to fail. What they are
No.
going to do is what I think has actually happened here is that the coaching staff in the front office has looked at their two quarterbacks throughout training camp, throughout preseason, and realized, just as I thought initially, that the Raiders quarterback of the future is not currently on the team. So if they lose a bunch of games this year, it doesn't really matter all that much. Just gets them in better position to draft somebody or more impetus to go and throw $60 million at Dak Prescott. So you're obviously they want to win this year, but I think that would probably just feel that Gardner Minshew is a better bridge quarterback to whoever they're going to bring in because Aiden O'Connell ain't it. He didn't show us a whole heck of a lot. He could have, honestly, this is his fault, almost entirely because he could have played, like a god and won this job outright, and he straight up didn't do it. He made plenty of mistakes. He was accurate, but he didn't do anything spectacular that said to the fans, I'm better than Gardner Minshew. Said to the coaching staff, I'm better than Gardner Minshew. You should have paid me that $15 million. He didn't ever do any of that. He didn't do it in camp. He didn't do it in practices. He certainly didn't do it in the games. I mean, he was efficient. He was okay. Efficient
Right.
and okay. He's not going to beat the Chiefs all that often.
He was adequate. And Minshew was a combination of like a little bit better and a lot worse. Like I was watching some.
Yeah, that's not going to cut it. The quarterback is not there for next year. It's just not.
I was watching some breakdown of Gardner Minshew, and by hey, UC Davis legend JT O'Sullivan, go check out the QB school. It's pretty dope channel. And he said that's not the easiest footwork that you want to use, but or he had a quote that was basically just like Gardner Minshew's footwork is so bad it makes the job more difficult than he really should want it to be, and I thought it's exactly what I see when I watch Minshew play. He tends to panic, and there's no panic in Aiden O'Connell. That's
out here on the West Coast. I watched a lot of Gardner Minshew at Washington State, and I'm sure if you watch college football down there, you caught a lot of it as well. Playing under Mike Leach at Washington State, he was running for his life then. And that's not what Mike Leach's system is for. Mike Leach's system is you stand in the pocket, wait for somebody to get open, and you throw it to them. And usually somebody will be because there's like 8 or 9 receivers on every freaking route because that's what Mike Leach does. He doesn't care about defense at all, which I'll get into later. Right. But he was running for his life for no reason whatsoever in his senior year of college, and he's still doing it. No one has coached that out of him yet, and nobody ever will.
Real quick, I see your comment, Shrek Bra, and I really don't want to put that up there because I don't need you to face the ridicule of the nation and talking about real fans and shit like that. Anyway, all that said, bottom line is Gardner Minshew is our QB1. Gardner Minshew is starting week 1 unless something tragic happens in the next 2 weeks. Now, moving forward, today in camp, Colton Miller came back, Jackson Powers Johnson came back, Devontae Adams came back, guys were on the field, Bowers came back, so it's looking like, at least for Friday's game against the Niners, or if they decide to sit everybody out, all the starters, sit them on Friday, moving towards week 1, it appears that everybody in the offense is going to be healthy. So we got 7 days until 53-man rosters are decided. I'm thinking that's a great day to have a show. And we've got opening day coming up in a couple weeks. Are we looking? What are your thoughts on everybody healthy coming back today?
Well, Brock Bowers is dealing with a sore foot, and at the practice at Allegiant Stadium tonight, he did not participate.
I read he did.
I don't believe he did. I think he was on the sidelines for that. But he was one of the very few, I think 1 or 2, who did participate in the practice tonight. I don't see him or any of the starters playing against the Niners this weekend. I think if you've made the team, if they know you've made the team, there's no reason to risk your health on that, and I think that's a smart decision. I think we're going to see a lot of the 3rd and 4th string guys battle it out, and we know that most of them aren't very good. So I foresee a pretty a pretty sloppy effort against the Niners. But the Niners gave a kind of a sloppy effort against the Saints last weekend with a lot of their starters out. Even with the starters in, they gave a sloppy effort against the Saints for the first quarter of that game that I watched.
You know who looked very sharp?
Who's that?
Derek Carr.
Well,
all right, moving on.
Doesn't he always look sharp and do nothing whatsoever with it?
Yeah, he looked pretty good. My dog is wrecking this room.
With the news that Minshew was the starter, an awful lot of my enthusiasm and optimism for the season has gone down the toilet.
Yeah,
I'm not really looking forward to much this year.
I mean, if I could go back and read a bunch of like the tweets and comments and all, like, thanks, I hate it. All the optimism that I felt for the season just like escaped me in one breath. Yeah, it was a very deflating decision, and I can't figure out why. I don't know why. I would have been more excited going into the season if they had announced Aiden O'Connell, and it's maybe just because like I planted my flags along the way, and I felt I would have felt vindicated. But that like I can't have that mentality. I have to follow the coaches and what they think is the best foot forward. And it's gotta be this. It has to be. They have to know more than me. They're the ones that are getting paid millions of dollars. I'm getting paid $0 to yell about shit. They have to be the ones that are the smartest ones in the room.
I mean, but on the other hand, I've been watching the Raiders for over 30 years. And, I don't for a second think that all of those coaches knew better than me. No, they didn't. A lot of those coaches got idiots. That's why they were fired, because they were dumb and made stupid decisions. Listen, it's hypocritical of any Raider fan to say, oh, Gardner Minshew is our quarterback. We've got to get behind him and support him 100%. What did all of us do with Josh McDaniels last year? All of us. Collectively, we got his ass shit-canned on purpose because it was the right thing to do because he was an idiot. And we got Antonio Pierce hired as the full-time coach because that was the right thing to do. We did that. Collectively, as Raider fans, we didn't support the bullshit that the Raiders were putting out on the field. We rebelled against it. We're the Raiders. That's what we do. We rebel against things. We got things done. And if Gardner Minshew is fucking up, we're going to boo his ass off the field because that's what we do.
To that point, I don't think that's necessary. I think Antonio Pierce is, at this point, a mouthpiece for Raider Nation, and if Gardner Minshew is not it, Antonio Pierce is going to make that decision. It's not going to take a big surge from the nation to do that.
I don't think it will take one, but he's going to get one.
I agree. Get Shrek Bra. Fantasy managers and college watchers know more than most GMs and head coaches. Yes, yeah. I will say I miss on more, but I don't wait. No, I hit on more, but I don't miss on more. All right. So,
how many draft pundits thought Quentin Johnston was a bad pick for the Chargers?
A lot.
Tom Telesco didn't. He thought it was great. He picked him right about where we took Brock Bowers this year. So that shows you sometimes the people behind the screen are correct.
And then he redeemed himself.
I love the draft he had for the Raiders. I thought he missed a lot with the Chargers. I hope he's more right than wrong going forward because I like him.
Yeah, same. So Colton Miller coming back is huge. Jackson Powers Johnson getting on the field is huge. Do you think we see Jackson Powers Johnson in a little action on Friday?
No.
None?
I don't think we see him until week 2 of the regular season.
Okay, so he's not going to start the season.
I don't think he's ready to start or see any playing time until he gets some actual practice under his belt. And I think maybe we'll see him a little bit against the Ravens. And I think going forward.
I think he's good enough to walk out there cold tomorrow and do the job. So,
you have to be better than Cody Whitehair, and that's not a huge bar to clear.
or Andres Pete.
But being a rookie, you're not going to get a chance to clear that bar unless you get some practices behind you. So it's only a matter of time. It's not a matter of talent.
I apologize, Raider Nation. Last week I came at you off the Fantasy Football Expo and my voice was totally gone because I had been screaming all weekend. This week it's gone because turns out when I was at the expo, I picked up COVID like a couple dozen other people, and I'm still like not over it. So I am coming at you with 80% energy and a fucked up cough. So you're welcome. All right. So let's get to our players of the week. No slides this week, and 3 weeks ago, I think our players of the week were mine was Jack Jones and yours was Trey Tucker. And then last week, I picked for both of us, and it wasn't because I didn't want to change out the slides. It's because mine were Jack Jones and Trey Tucker. I think both of those guys have stepped up a ton this preseason, and are they're hinting at great things coming for Raider Nation.
Well, Jack Jones has shown that he is a star, and Trey Tucker has shown that he's going to be a star given the opportunity.
Okay, so my player of the week is Gardner Minshew. Why not? You go in, you sign a free agent deal, come into a new organization, try and learn a new system that you haven't learned before alongside the other guy that's here. You're in a, quote, QB battle as portrayed by the head coach. And then in week two, after the week 2 preseason game, you are named the QB1 when you've been a backup your whole career. So Gardner Minshew, congrats. You are my slayer of the week. How about you, Raiderdamus?
All right. Well, before I reveal mine, I want to say about Gardner Minshew, I hope he does well. I hope he turns into the next Rich Gannon, kicks everyone's ass, and proves me wrong. I'm just saying,
yeah.
At this point in time, I have absolutely zero faith in Gardner Minshew because I've watched him since he was in college. I know exactly who he is and what he can do, and I know what he can't do. And I know that he's been in quarterback battles before, lost every single one of them, and had to come off the bench. Now, he's great off the bench, and I wish he was coming off the bench for the Raiders, but I hope he turns into a solid starter like tomorrow and just becomes absolutely amazing. Because the Raiders have always, for their whole history, picked up reclamation project players and turned them into stars. It's been a while since we've done that, but I think it's time to get back to our old ways. So I hope Gardner Minshew turns into just an amazing player for us.
To that end, A, it's Minshew Mania, baby. Love the mustache. B, let's have a Baker Mayfield season. Let's have a huge breakout and just become like a top 10 quarterback. How about that, Gardner? Take that swagger onto the field and fucking do it. And number 3, how many Super Bowls did we win with Jim Plunkett? And Gardner Minshew is a better quarterback than Jim Plunkett. So, yeah.
Yeah, I love Gardner as a person. I think he's delightfully eccentric. I love his facial hair. I love his mannerisms. I love his personality. I just think he's fantastic. I just wish he was as good a football player as he is a person. Now, hopefully that will come to fruition this year.
I do have to say that I grew up thinking that Jim Plunkett was a Hall of Fame type quarterback because he won 2 Super Bowls for us. But it wasn't until recently that I dove into his statistical line and went back and watched some game film with my new brain, not my 10-year-old brain. And I was like, how did we win with this guy? He was garbage. But there weren't a lot of great quarterbacks in the NFL up until 1983. I think that was kind of like the sea change. But he is historic, and I love him for his 2 rings, but he wasn't very good.
Now, let me get to my actual player of the week.
Okay.
The aforementioned Colton Miller, who has returned, our franchise left tackle, one of the only good first-round picks we've had like in the last decade. The first-round pick that John Gruden made in his return to coaching the Raiders and being the de facto general manager of the Raiders. Colton Miller, his absence has been felt, particularly by Aiden O'Connell, who got absolutely blasted by Dallas Turner when he should have thrown a touchdown against the Vikings in the first quarter. When Andrew Speed, the fill-in for Colton Miller, basically just matadored him on through, let Dallas Turner just go and have at it. So Colton Miller is an absolutely huge part of the Raiders offense. He's that franchise left tackle, the anchor on the blind side of both of our right-handed quarterbacks. He's a very good run blocker, very good pass blocker. He's an underrated franchise left tackle. I think he's a top 10 left tackle when healthy.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he hasn't been very healthy lately. And I do hope that the time for his replacement is farther off than I suspect it will be. But for right now, to have Colton Miller back in the fold as that franchise left tackle on the left side, blocking the blind side is super duper important for Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell to have the most success that they can have. So I hope he stays healthy this year, stays out there, and stays kicking ass.
He's also not a terrible running tackle, and he should be able to open up some nice zones for Zamir to run through. We do have Jamie Pirog. Is it Pirog? Pirog? It looks to me like pierogi. But what's up, Jamie? It was great to meet you at the expo. Jamie is a fan and now a friend, and I appreciate it. He watches my player profiler shows and contributes in the comments and stuff, and now he's here too. So good, shout out Jamie. And then we got Party Clown Minshew Mania. Of course, it's Mustache Mania, baby. All right, let's transition, everybody. Let's bring it down. It's time for the Raiderdamus Hall of... Oh, we got 69 viewers. Nice.
Hey,
Raiderdamus Hall of Shade. Raiderdamus is going to give us his Hall of Shade nominee for the week, and then I'm going to say goodbye and go pass out with COVID. So, Raiderdamus... it's time for Raiderdamus Hall of Shade. It's time for Raiderdamus Hall of Shade. Take it away, Raiderdamus.
All right. On April 4th, 2021, a man posted a picture of the Easter dinner he cooked for his family on Twitter. The dinner in question was a brisket, and to see how overcooked this particular brisket was made you feel sorry for the cow who gave his life to be treated so disrespectfully. Normally, some guy posting a picture of poorly cooked meat on Twitter would not be a big deal, but the person who posted this wasn't just some guy. It was then Oklahoma head coach Lincoln Riley. He instantly became the butt of jokes online, including, he loves football so much he eats it for dinner, and he wanted the burnt ends, middles, and beginnings. And also, on the third day, Lincoln Riley took it out of the smoker. Others said, this is the second worst Lincoln assassination in history, and if you drop your phone in the toilet, you could put it in a bag with this brisket to dry it out. Lincoln Riley is a native Texan. He should know how to cook a brisket, and he should know better than to make one drier than his wife's cooter after a loss to Oklahoma State. But the words should and does never really go together for Lincoln Riley, who was inevitably going to underachieve all the way to the very top of his profession. And that's why Lincoln Riley is this week's inductee into the Raiderdamus Hall of Shade. Riley got his start in college football as a walk-on backup quarterback at Texas Tech behind Cliff Kingsbury and B.J. Simons in 2002. That team was coached by Mike Leach, who, despite all his fine qualities, never met a defense he didn't utterly disregard and have the utmost contempt for. Whether at Tech, at Washington State, or at Mississippi State, Leach's plan was always the same: score more points than the other team. On occasion, Leach's teams were able to do that. Riley became a student assistant under Leach in 2003, learning the air raid. Riley then spent 5 seasons as the offensive coordinator for East Carolina before being hired as the OCO Oklahoma by Bob Stoops in 2015. 2 years later, Stoops retired, naming Riley his successor. This is the worst thing that ever happened to Lincoln Riley, because he found a spot he could be very successful and then had it taken from him. Riley is a perfect example of the Peter principle, that people in an industry are promoted to their level of incompetence. Riley was a very good offensive coordinator. He was and is a terrible head coach. He won 4 straight Big 12 titles, beating up on teams that don't play defense. As soon as he faced a real squad in the playoffs, his teams got smacked, like in the 2018 Rose Bowl, where his Sooners lost to Georgia 54-48. And so Riley found it best to move on before his team joined the SEC, and he went to a place where nobody cares about football unless it's the Raiders, Los Angeles. Just a few months after posting his brisket abomination on Twitter, Riley became the head coach at USC. Surely Riley seemed like a godsend to the rich kids at USC who had been unsuccessful at pooling their money to get Clay Helton assassinated. But everything Riley did at Oklahoma, he also did at USC, including hiring incompetent defensive coaches and beating up on hapless conference foes by virtue of having a better quarterback than they did. He ended the 2022 season with a Cotton Bowl loss to Tulane, and ended the 2023 season with a Holiday Bowl win over Louisville. This is not what USC had in mind when they hired Lincoln Riley. USC has consistently lost commits during Riley's tenure, which I believe is because high school players know Riley is a joke, But the school and its sycophants believe that this is due to the school being unprepared for the era of NIL. This makes no sense whatsoever because USC is the University of Spoiled Children, where the team has been buying players since the establishment of the forward pass. To think that their vast network of illicit bagmen were suddenly taken off guard by the new rules is asinine. It's more likely that fewer players want to play for Lincoln Riley. While Caleb Williams is a star and a generational talent, Spencer Rattler had to transfer to South Carolina to find success, and Riley's star recruit at USC, quarterback Malachi Nelson, is now the backup quarterback at Boise State. Riley's days of success in the college ranks are likely over. He left a conference with Baylor, Texas Tech, and West Virginia, and now finds himself in a conference with Ohio State, Michigan, Iowa, Penn State, and Oregon. He's going to lose a lot of games 16-13 in the next few years. And yet I, the great Raiderdamus, predict this. When Jerry Jones finally tires of Mike McCarthy's underachieving, he'll hire Lincoln Riley as the new coach of the Dallas Cowboys so that their underachieving can continue unabated. So fuck you, Lincoln Riley. You're nothing but a Sonny Dykes with fewer accolades and less accomplishments. And when the Cowboys fire you, your career will look just like your brisket. That's all I got to say about that.
Sonny Dykes, it just hit me in the heart when the Cowbears were putting together the 132nd ranked defense in college football.
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
They were scoring.
You saw it.
They were scoring 42 points a game, but giving up 43. God damn you, Sonny!
For you right there.
I know, and yeah, that's some good Cowboys shade. All right, thank you guys for watching. This has been Raiders Uncovered. Sorry to come up short a little bit this week. Hopefully by next week, this COVID garbage will I will have been fully recovered. Thank you to Raiderdamus for the laughs. That's some good ones. Mrs. Riley being dry. That was good. Put your phone in a bag with the brisket to dry it out. That was good too. All right. We got comments. Thanks, Get Shrek, brah. He says for me to get better. And Jamie Pierogi, he gave me the spelling. It's Pierogi, like pierogi, like I thought. And he said bravo. Every week. And look for on Raider Ramble the article coming out every Friday, I guess, unless it's Wednesday during a Thursday game. I don't know how you're going to do that.
There is no opposition on the Genius Switch.
That's true. So go to the Raider Ramble and read Raiderdamus's column. What you can do is you can go to Silver and Black Pride and Raider Ramble and just type in the searches Raiderdamus and go read all his back articles. Like some of the shit from Cleveland like 10 years ago is just slays me.
I've been great for so long, it's scared.
Yeah. Channeling the great beyond. All right. And everybody, thank you for watching. We'll be back Tuesday next week, 8 p.m. Pacific time, 11 o'clock Eastern time. We hope you're here too. And as every week, fuck the Broncos. Also, this week, fuck the Niners too.
And fuck the Chiefs.